Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 money making methods and glitches. And today's video is going to be something a little bit different. It is a glitch build for 600 pp Tokyo. However, it's a bit of a work in progress in terms of the overall build. So since I'm still refining and trying to work around this build and get it working properly, I thought I'd actually give you just the default settings in terms of the setup itself and just give you the parts that will take you under 600 pp so you guys can essentially get your own, personal preference going in terms of differential and suspension and such. So we're going to be using the Dodge Viper SRT 10 Coupe from 2006. It's one of those cars that shows up both in the used car dealership and Brand Central. In fact, it's currently on sale in the used car dealership for 112,200 credits. However, if you don't want to buy one used or it's not in there when you get around to this video, you can get it from Brand Central by heading into America, go over to Dodge, and then as soon as it loads up, head into showroom, and then a few clicks to the right, and it's going to be the middle of the Vipers. So not the 02, not the 13, it's the 06 SRT 10 Coupe, coming in at 130,000 credits brand new. So not too much of a difference, but if you're kind of short on credits and you're wanting to kind of, experiment with this build, then definitely, go for the cheaper model if it is in the used car dealership. Overall, exact same performance. So let's get on to the part that actually matters in terms of getting the build up and running. You want to ensure that you do have the wide body modification on this build. If I can get a non-wide body method going, I will definitely let you know by uploading that video on the channel. In terms of your wheels, you want to just click on them and just ensure that you're running any non-standard wheels with a different size and a different width and offset. So ensure that the width is wide and the offset's wide, and they're just a size bigger at least in terms of kind of non-standard wheels. In terms of the aero parts at the front here, it's going to be Type A with a Type A side. In terms of the wing, it's completely up to you. Either Type A will work, or the custom wing set, which you can literally have at anything, so it doesn't really matter. As you can see there, I just kind of changed it up just to prove that once you've got this working, you can use any. You will need a roll cage, so it's going to be Type B or Type C. They seem to work best to get this build running. Up next, in terms of the actual tuning sheet, it's completely up to you whether you want to use intermediate tyres or sports softs. If you want a more laid back run, definitely go for the inters. It'll be the one that I show you in the video. It will be a little bit slower overall, however it is much more easier to drive, and this is not an easy car to drive currently. Like I said, in terms of the parts, I'm going to give you the default settings for them. So it's the fully customizable suspension. You can completely tune this to your liking. That is all down to personal preference to get this car feeling how you really want it to. For the differential, it is fully customizable again, and again, tune this to your personal liking. My kind of preferences might be different from yours. We are running the normal transmission. In terms of ballast, we've got that set to 9, and then we've got a positioning of -13. Onto the power restrictor, we are actually going to be restricting power slightly, so it's to 94, and then we've got the normal ECU on this car. Downforce is 157 at the front with a rear of 165. We do have this supercharger high-end torque, however we cannot put the intercooler on. It will jump up to 700 plus. Racing silencer, the racing exhaust manifold, racing brake pads, and then if we go up to the top here, it will be the semi-racing clutch and flywheel. In terms of your permanent engine mods, it's going to be bore up, engine balance tuning, polished ports, racing crankshaft, high compression pistons, all the weight reductions, and then increased body rigidity. So in terms of the event we're going to run, it's obviously going to be a 600 build. In fact, it's a dot on the 600 limit. So we're going to head over into Asia and Oceania, where it's going to take us to Tokyo. So you want to go over here in Japan to Tokyo Expressway. Click on that and go all the way to the right, and it's going to be this event here, the 12 lap 600 World Touring Car event. Go ahead and enter that. So let's talk about the tune itself. This is definitely something that's going to be a bit of a work in progress, so don't expect it to be perfect out of the gate. There's definitely a specific way to drive it. It's a bit of a beast, so in terms of trying to get that power down correctly, you want to be as light as possible on the throttle. There's definitely some, extra performance to be had. It's just finding those exact sweet spots in terms of actually getting it to drop under 600. Obviously, this requires a glitch to do. This car realistically should be around the 7 120 pp range. However, when it drops to literally dot on the 600, in fact just under, without any slight adjustments. So I definitely think there will be a better version to come of this car, and I definitely think that I will probably find extra performance in this build. However, it is a work in progress. Obviously a lot of the settings and stuff I've kind of left down to you guys to customize. You can change the suspension, you can customize the differential as well, and it will basically not change the PP at all, so feel free to play around with those. I definitely recommend not putting the initial torque and such at the kind of minimum value. This will cause you to have a ton of wheel spin. It's a very, very sketchy car, very reminiscent of the days of the Corvette C7 build that we used to do with the ridiculous toe angle. Not quite as beastly, but it definitely requires you to be at least a bit careful with your inputs, especially on those first few laps. The thing I've noticed after that, when you get to around about lap 4, it becomes a whole different car and much more controllable, especially on the inters. Now that is where the crossover is in terms of the inters being the better tyre to the Sport Soft being the better tyre, so feel free to kind of weigh up your options. With that being said, let me show you the strategy that I use to get around the Tokyo 600 grind. So definitely when it comes to this build, you want to at least run one on the traction control, especially early on. It's going to be a nightmare to get around, a bit like something like the Alpine that's very sketchy in the wet. You want the ASM on, and you want to do your counter steering assistance at whichever one you feel comfortable as. So this run actually was using 0 assists. Now this is where I feel like I definitely went wrong in terms of the overall strategy for this car. It definitely requires you to be very kind of light throttle and all that good stuff, whereas I'm a bit heavy footed, so I'm planting my foot down to the floor through every corner, and it's definitely not that kind of car. So yeah, feel free to just assist it up if you need to. It should realistically drop your lap times by quite a bit. So again, as usual, you fuel mix 1 up until you get to the barrier, then you want to begin to turn the engine down. Now at this point, I fully recommend just running it at fuel mix 3. Whether you're running it 3 or 6, it doesn't matter. Your tyre wear will pretty much be the same, and your fuel use will be the same as well. You're going to be doing a lot of short shifting with this car. It definitely agrees more with short shifting than absolutely planting your foot to the floor. The gear ratios naturally on this car are very, very long, so you may find yourself not using those upper gears as much, and you may find yourself cruising around in third or fourth through quite a lot of the corners. You really don't have to drop too far down, and you really don't have to go too high up. In fact, on the main straight, you'll be topping out in 5th gear and be just about hitting the limiter as you get to turn 1. So after you've done that, and after you've kind of learned to get used to the flow of this car, I'm going to move on to lap 4, because this is where it kind of changes up a bit. So once you hit lap 4, it's going to become a lot drier. This is where the crossover point is that I mentioned. This is where sport softs are going to be much, much quicker than the inters, and your inters will also begin to start burning out a lot more. In terms of your first pit stop, end of lap 6 is best. Now, because of how the gear ratios are naturally on this car, it doesn't use too much fuel, believe it or not. So fuel use won't be the main thing you're pitting for. It's actually the fact that the inters will burn out very, very quickly. The softs, again, will begin to burn out around this time, maybe not as aggressively as the inters. As soon as you hit the dry track, you're basically locked into whatever you begin on anyway. So if you go for sport softs, you're going to be locked into them for the entire event. If you go for intermediates, you're going to be locked into them. So your first pit stop, just take a fresh set of whatever tyres you're on and fill the car to full. After that, you're going to begin to change your strategy. You can go fuel mix 1 at maximum power for the rest of the event. You are going to have to do another pit stop, again mainly due to tyre burnout. Whether you're on the softs or whether you're on the inters, it's not going to make a difference. It's just the fact that the softs will be much, much quicker at this point during its over its 1 lap pace. So just assume that if you're using the inters, you are going to be, I'd say, at least around about 30 to 40 seconds slower. So your second pit stop comes at the end of lap 9. This is when your tyres are kind of at the point of no return. If you do an extra lap, you will begin to struggle a lot more, and it is at risk of costing you that clean race bonus and a lot more time. So in terms of the clean race bonus, just don't hit the AI. Be careful on the final hairpin. That is literally it. Just be very, very careful and very, very mindful of those points, and you will always get that 100% bonus. So again, once you've done that pit stop, you don't have to filter full. That was just a lack of concentration by me. Just continue to repeat what you did after your first pit stop. Fuel mix 1, go all the way to the end. So here you have it. We are going to finish our 12th and final lap. in around about 25 and a half minutes. So again, it was a pretty laid back, more relaxed run. Still very much learning this build. There is definite potential to easily get in them 24 minutes, especially on the sports soft tyres. They're much quicker on that second stint onwards. So realistically, the inters are only really good for kind of helping you around that first 2 to 3 laps maximum before they begin to burn out. Fastest lap on the inters was a 1:59.995, set on lap 5. I was going around about 2 seconds quicker on my 12th lap. However, the AI pretty much blocked me, so there is that. So it's going to be a clean race bonus as long as you stick to what I mentioned very easily, and it's going to be 825k, no problem. That's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. I upload GT7 and motorsport content each and every day. I've got some pretty wild and wacky builds coming this weekend, thanks to a couple of people in my Discord. They are pretty nuts builds. In terms of this one, let me know what you think, and let me know if you manage to refine it or get a bit of a different value in terms of dropping those performance points. I am currently trying to work on a non-wide-bodied version, but it was very difficult to kind of get it to drop under around about 620 at its minimum with a lot more power. So yeah, bit of a nightmare to get this one to drop. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all later, guys. Have a great day. Peace.